have our next milestone coming up, and luckily it's our last milestone in the current round, but it's a growth milestone.
Of course. What kind of milestone would you have to grow? Yes.
Yeah, best situation to tackle a growth milestone, and we are happy that we have an investor like that, because
Yes, you are more than welcome to start.
Thank you, Sylvia. And so, hello everyone, let me introduce me. And if you don't know me, welcome to this podcast. Put your hands up and follow me. We want employees to have a happy and fulfilled life here. Healthy relationships is what we strive for. Therefore, we provide you a software from the triad of human personality development. You can see what we build for continuous team development at our page, matchmanao.de, personality recruiting, next innovation age. This is how we support you and your teams to solve relationship issues. Don't cry me a river if your team fails. We also got you tissues, but this won't happen if you use our software with no stress. Perfect UX tools to improve your team's happiness. This increases your organization's productivity and revenue. Getting the right people to form the teams is the smart clue. How we do this? Based on psychometrics and machine learning. Through our 1,000 customers, we are already earning money. It's still learning. It's funny. Other startups are just burning money. We are turning to the sunny side. I mean the whole work industry, if you don't mind. We call it team design, the perfect symbiosis of people, smooth like every rhyme, perfect flow. I'm the rapping CTO. Battle punchlines is not normally my style. I'm really humble, but this is a fight battle freestyle rap, so get ready to rumble.
Woo! Thank you so much. This is one of the most amazing starts. Really the first one that is not done by myself, and I'm beyond grateful that you gave it a shot. So thank you so much, Urs. I know that you're not doing this on a daily basis, because this is not what you're doing. So once again, thank you so much. I highly appreciate it. So before we will get started and before we will dive in, I will just briefly share what you're doing apart from rapping. Sure. Right? So there is a lot of stuff what I will share also in the comments below, but I would just like to start with what I think is very impressive, that you guys in your current startup, what you were just talking about, you're tackling the UN's world goals 5, 8, and 10. And apart from that, you have, of course, a very broad experience around data science, what I love as well, by the way, organizational behavior, and e-commerce. So I would love to get started and ask you about the 5, 8, and 10 goal of the UN's world topics, because I think some people might not be aware of what it is and what you're doing when it comes to that.
Yeah, sure. So as I have they all in mind, goal number 5 is gender equality, right? And so when we started Match Manao, our project, which is about team design, recruiting, and team development, we saw when we build an algorithm to match this all together, it is in our sense that we make it non-biased, because bias was, and I mean non-bias regarding gender. And when you look at other algorithms in recruiting which use machine learning, they mainly use old data, because you need a lot of data to build up such a project. And obviously your algorithm can become biased due to data you put in. Mm-hmm. So we thought when we started this whole thing some years ago that we just leave gender out, and that we also provide gender neutral information after we have some results to people. So this is our approach to goal number 5. When we do team design, recruiting recommendations and all that stuff, we don't take gender into account, because we have the stance that not important. At this case, if you're if you're female, male, diverse, or whatever you count yourself to. And that it's just about your personality, yourself, and what you're capable, able to do. And this is how we approach goal number 5.
I love it.
Thanks. Goal number 8 is economic growth part with decent work. And why we think we approached that, or why we focused on that. People in our current system, and I think when I say system, I mean the economic world structure, and from a sociological and ecological basis, they need a certain amount of money. And people, from my stance or perspective, need to have work which is fulfilling. And we thought, when what we are doing is really working out, everyone who is willing to have a job and who is willing to work or wants to do something can find the perfect match through our platform based on human basis and skills basis. So there will always be an option to find decent work. And as you know from case studies from Oxford or Cambridge University, happiness is a direct impact on and productivity. As when you go down the whole causality chain, productivity has a direct impact on economic growth. So we start quite early in this whole causality chain, but at the end, we provide economic growth through this for organizations. And yeah, reduced inequality, goal number 10. I think that's quite obvious. When you have no bias in gender inequality, and when you try to approach the fact that people need decent work, and you provide a system which gives you a neutral decision basis on how to hire and how to build teams, then you leave out age, gender, and all that stuff. You provide more equality to the people, and this is why we also tackle goal number 10.
Thank you so much for sharing. And this leads me probably to the next question. Due to our current environment, due to our current situation globally, first of all, the pandemic, but second of all, of course, the anti-racism movement at the moment, did it have any kind of impact on what you're doing at the moment in your business?
No, it doesn't, because we don't have racism within our organization. Of course, our employees and also myself, I think when I was 15, I supported the Brothers Keeper e.V., which was a rap community against racism, because it happened in the past in Germany and it's still happening. So, and when you love rap music and when you love hip hop, you need to. Their roots are in the Black community, so it's always has been a part of my life. So we are not influenced by it directly because we provide the neutrality in the whole software in this. So it's like with the fact about gender. But of course, our employees and we as people have a clear stance to that, that we support Black Lives Matters, and but it's not like that we post in our organization from Match Manao. We all have a clear stance to that, but we don't want to just hop on the train without having a direct impact on it. So it more as an organization, it's more like that we don't feel allowed to speak, but we support them.
I can absolutely resonate with that. So I grew up in a small village next to Bavaria in the Alps, and my best friends, we have been friends now for almost 30 years roundabout, and her dad is a man of color, and it was just normal for me to have this kind of people around. Yeah. So you just, how can I say it? And I am by myself, like I am a Polish girl in Germany. So I think faced lots of stuff by myself. So for me, it's exactly like for you. It's always been part of normality to have the equality and not to differentiate in whatsoever. And
Yeah, yes, and when you mention that, it brings me back my first soccer team when I was 5 or 6 years old in my parents' place at our village. We were Germans, Russians, Turkish, Philippines, Chinese kids playing soccer, and yeah, it was always just normal to have all this multicultural mixture, and we grew up like that. So there was no place or space for racism.
And I hope that, and this is my personal opinion about it, that is that this should be on a daily agenda of each and every single one of us, not about posting, not about being, like, and I share this so often that we have the 1 day World Yoga Day, one World Meditation Day, one World of whatever. It's about what we do on a daily basis. And this is what everybody now tries to fight, what is happening on a daily basis. So if we all would be able to stand up, speak up, and show up for people who might kind of experience any kind of injustice. And the whole video, what went viral, was a pretty great example for that. My personal opinion, like, how can people, never mind. It's just a completely different topic. I don't want to even go into that road. Sorry. Just a side note. This makes me, we are on the same page.
We are on the same page, and we have a clear stance to that.
So I do it, and I completely resonate with it, to do it on a daily basis, because this, and I will run, by the way, a whole series about that in July, and invite people to share their own experience. But today we want to talk about customer relationship and growth, and how to do this effectively. This is a little bit of a side note, that this is our today's topic, actually, to talk about this.
But we can take the connection to this, that when you have a clear stance on a political topic, it fosters your customer relationship, because it kind of sorts out the people who have a different opinion on that, and it gets stronger relationships with the people who have a clear stance on this. To take the connection.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for helping me out here, because I would now lose myself. No, because, and like exactly what you said, if you when you are honest and real about what you think, and this might be different for everybody, so we can also agree that we disagree, don't get me wrong. It's just about that the connection, like you said, is happening when you start to be vulnerable, when you start to be honest and real. And what would you say, how can especially leaders in this current situation, and you are one of them, do this within their company, do this with their teams and with their customers, of course, as well, in order to be able to tackle this current situation as a business, not only related to equality, but of course also related to maybe some struggles people are fighting to survive with businesses. Some of them have real issues to make the next month, depending on which areas they are. So what would you say, how can they right now, and of course beyond that, start to create this strong relationship with their customers and team?
It's humility and all the aspects which are connected to that. So I think in your podcast, a lot of people probably have talked about it, but one of the first things to start with is just open, honest, clear communication. So so that you look for the exchange with your customers or your team, the people you work with on a daily basis, your business partners. I mean, when you just tell about your own situation, talk about your own situation, and then people can realize that they are not the only ones struggling with the situation. And as my opinion on this is that together you always will find a solution. And as a leader, I think you always, of course, you need to have an eye on the business and the metrics and the KPIs and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's about human relationships, and all the metrics and the KPIs it's an economic construct where we want to group together, but there won't be any KPIs and any metrics when there are new people you can to work with. So for example, we in our situation as a company, we really have a transparent exchange with our team members, so that they have a clear insight in all the numbers, where we're heading, in which direction. They have a clear understanding and transparency in our decision making of the C-board and what our investors, for example, are thinking about the situation, how we discuss things like in our situation. One example in our situation, we have our next milestone coming up, and luckily it's our last milestone in the current round, but it's a growth milestone.
Of course. What kind of milestone would you have to grow? Yes.
Yeah, best situation to tackle a growth milestone, and we are happy that we have an investor like that, because we just talked about the situation, and we together decided that it would be just unfair to have the normal schedule as actually planned, because then we would have had our milestone presentation and final date in May, and now we just skipped it to September, which at the end, of course, means that we have to take the longer period with the money we have. Mm-hmm. So, of course, then we need to tighten our financial plannings in there. And when this is transparent to the employees and the whole group, they can understand the decision. And on the other hand, our investor is so fair that we reschedule the milestone, and that they didn't discuss the whole contract with this new situation over, because what I have heard from other startups, they kind of were in the situation that their investor said, okay, when we reschedule the whole milestone, we want to have more shares, because it's not what we agreed on in the past, and we're lucky that, or not just lucky, but happy that we have a fair communication in there. So communication and transparency is one of them, definitely. Mm-hmm. And what I also think is a good approach to handle a situation like this is to understand the situation of the people behind. So it's not just that these are people who are trying to support the whole vision of the company, but these are people like you and me who get up, have their families, have their daily life, and to create an understanding for their mental structure and their situation is definitely important. Mm-hmm. And this led, for example, to the situation that we, with us working remote, we have an office live stream, for example, because some of us said they need the human or the social interaction. They cannot sit at home alone in their flat and work there in front of their laptop. They need social interaction. So what we did is just create a live stream where everyone, whenever, can zoom in.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
And have some social interaction, or if they just want to zoom in to have this noise of other people working in the back, like maybe in the past you went to a cafe around the corner to get this music and this noise of people interacting, and we created this virtually.
Amazing. That's a great idea, because for some extroverts this might be a very challenging situation to be basically locked down during this situation. By the way, research shows that when you are alone, this can be perceived by your brain like being literally hurt. So therefore, you can experience this unconsciously as pain, and therefore this might have lots of impact on your productivity, efficiency, etc. And this leads me to the next topic about the happiness. You said that happiness correlates straight away with the productivity of people. Yeah. So within the data science, within your algorithm, because I know that you've built, and this is what I will not be able probably to do in this lifetime, but maybe next one.
We will keep working on it.
Yes, you never give up. So if I would set up my mind towards it, I believe I could manage this, because this is how I roll. You know what I mean? Like, I get my head into something and there is nothing what I cannot learn.
We just created a new graphic which explains it more simplified. So we should give it another try, definitely. I mean, we need to learn to explain it. I mean, I always have the point that if I'm not able to explain it in a way that other people understand it, I'm not good at explaining. So when you say you didn't get through the whole process, I wasn't able to explain it in a proper way. So
well, I think we didn't even talk that much about algorithm the last time we met each other. So just give people a little bit of a context. We met each other in Munich last year, I believe, and have been in touch since then. Yeah, we will see when we will be able to meet each other next time. But just coming back to the happiness and the productivity. So what would you say, or maybe how is your product also providing this kind of area when it comes to teams, when it comes to finding something what makes you happy?
It supports every person in the point that you need to start with yourself. And I think other people are not able and not responsible to make somebody happy. You can only be self-responsible for making yourself happy, and then you can be happy together. And so this is also the whole approach in our software. We always start with yourself. So you need to understand yourself before you can understand your whole team or other people. And so we start with a personal analysis in our product, and this points out where your personality has which structure and how your value system structure is. And due to this, we keep on going, asking your question to kind of point out what makes you happy, and so that you get a quite sound understanding of what are things that give you energy, or what are things that take energy away from you, and which have an influence and impact on your happiness, so that you can work on yourself. And from this on, because our main focus is teams and team design, from this on, when you understood what about yourself, what makes you happy, you can talk about this with your team and colleagues. And then we keep on asking team-related questions to the way you want to work, the way you want to communicate, the way your resilience is, or your mindfulness, or your ability to learn, or what is your motivation, and it all influences the collective intelligence, and this at the end has an impact on the team happiness. And this is where we take the curve and go on the productivity.
Amazing. So you go from self-reflection to team relation topics. And would you mind to share with us the collective intelligence topic and go a little bit deeper into that?
Yes, sure. So you want to know
what it is? Yes. How can we imagine?
Okay.
Yes. What is collective intelligence, especially when it comes to teams, and of course when it comes to working with your customers, probably as well, right?
Yeah. So we understand collective intelligence as the combination of all the constructs I mentioned. So to really have them all, it's about trust, it's about resilience, mindfulness, emotional intelligence, self-efficiency. It's about motivation, proactivity, the ability to learn, and communication. And then we also try to tackle creativity, judgment, and moral reasoning. And this all together builds up collective intelligence. So when you understand which who of your team has which degree of all these single constructs, you can understand how to combine them, and then you can improve your collective intelligence and adjust the people in this direction, or support the people in their potential in each single construct, because then your collective intelligence grows. This and what we do in there is we really, I always say we're just asking the right questions to support people in finding the solution, and keep on going in the process and developing themselves and their team. And what we do, we provide tools, and these are exercises and questions. And this is where we also then, some of them tools we provide them for free, and this is where our customer relationship is fostered, and where they really get tools or content where they can really have a benefit from. And so what we really try is to provide the best tools and the best content to improve the team relationship, and to improve the collective intelligence. And by having this requirement to ourselves, our community can really rely on that we want the best for them.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to customer relationship management, and when you might not have access to those tools, what would you say? How did you start out, and how did you create this customer relationship with people who haven't known you before? So, for example, whoever is right now watching and might think about building something, maybe creating a side hustle, what would you say? How to get started with the customer relationship, especially at the beginning?
Interaction is the key in this point, because you need to reach out to the people who are maybe experts or just interested in a certain topic, and whether it's on Instagram or LinkedIn, or any kind of social network online or social network offline, when it comes to events and meetup groups, you just need to go there and interact with people, because what our current Corona situation taught us is that it's all about interaction, and that we're still humans and we need social interaction. And when you get in contact with those people, you learn from them. You can give them something back after a time, because you share different perspectives. You start exchanging your knowledge, information, and I think it always needs to be grows on an eye level, so that not one part of is just extracting benefits from the other, but that you always have it's giving and giving back. And I can just recommend to reach out to the people from whom you want to learn, and to provide them something.
Thank you so much for sharing. And my last question would be, so once you have established, like you, for example, I don't know, how long have you been part, or when did you build up or started your startup?
We founded the company in 2018. Yeah.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So we started with the whole project. I was still attending university when we started this project in 2016, and then through this we were learning, researching, setting up prototypes, crunch it, and finally in June 2018, we found the GmbH. Yeah.
And how were you able to grow throughout the past almost 2 years? So were there any kind of tricks, hacks in order to be able to not only manage what is, but also to go into the perspective of growing. And I would take maybe the pandemic out of the situation, because we were talking about this at the beginning. So just generally speaking, how could we go for growth when it comes to this topic?
Yeah. You need to grow on different levels, and I think it's good to. Or no, let's mix it up. I think you can only grow if you build good relationships to people, and it's from my experience of the past. And there I had luck that I had an uncle who taught me this quite early, that it's all about your network, and that you need to get to know people and interact with people. And then during my bachelor studies, I had 3 really supportive professors, and they just in the beginning they took me by the hand and went with me to conferences and all that stuff. And this is how I was able to really grow a quite good network. And then when you get in contact, you need to stay in contact. And then it's about to be clear about yourself. And I think Simon Sinek is a great example for this, because Simon Sinek in the past was only talking about start with why, or find your why. And now he's only talking about the growth mindset. So
he calls it the infinite mindset. I
the
have the
infinite
book.
mindset, right?
Yes, I have the book here.
Yes, it's somewhere back there.
Yeah. I got it last week as well, I think. Last week or the week before.
So, right, he calls it the infinite mindset. And my point in here is that you don't hear him talk about start with why anymore. So he's really clear in his message. He's reaching out to the people. So I'm only focusing on one thing. And when you interact with me, I want to be understood and seen as the person who is focusing on this topic, and I'm really precise focusing on this topic. And when I'm done with it, maybe I move on to the next one. And when it comes to your network, you should be clear about yourself, what you're doing and what you're looking for, and what you can provide for your network, and how you can support your people in your network. And this is how I would say the whole maintenance thing of your people works out, so that you really care about them personally, and that you are precise and clear about yourself. And this is why I didn't want to split it in offline and online, because we need to mix it up nowadays. It doesn't work in a separated way. You keep to maintenance it in a digital way, in an offline way. Meet, call, write emails, text messages, whatever.
Or do it like myself, just invite them to talk with you.
Yes, and record it and make a podcast out of it. Yeah. So
Thank you so much for sharing.
About this maintenance.
Yeah. Cool. So first of all, I think this is a very diverse podcast. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge. We started with rapping, then kind of had a slow excursion to this topic, which is very close to my heart, because it's like for you, you just have to really show who you are as a human being. And this closes probably the topic what you've just shared at the end, is basically to make sure that you stand for something, that you have an opinion, and that you know what you want to provide and how you want to help and serve others, no matter on which level, no matter where you are or with whom you are. And at the end, my last question is what, and this is how I close all the shows here, is what was your biggest win throughout your entrepreneurial journey? Not in your life, your entrepreneurial journey.
My biggest win.
Was there one?
Definitely, there are several. My biggest win. 1 second.
Of course, not talking about your best girl at home, just talking really about your professional life. So don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
sure,
Just
sure.
to clarify this, because someone told me like, yeah, of course, I just to focus on your professional life.
My biggest win in my professional life is that I came to the point that I need to set my own personal metrics and KPIs, and so that I can understand what would be my biggest win, and that it's not compared to other entrepreneurs or other founders and CEOs, CTOs, and whatever. Because when you start comparing, you start losing, because everyone has a different journey, and everyone is writing their own story, and some people take longer for some goals which are comparable, but they may make other experience on the way to when they try to reach that goal. So of course, one of my past classmates from high school, he's an entrepreneur, and he just raised 26 million, and of course I could compare myself to, okay, we started at the same age with school and this and that, and now he raised a bunch of amount of money which I haven't. And on the other hand, he hasn't been living for 1 year on Bali, freelancing and serving and experience a different lifestyle. So having your own metrics where you can compare yourself to yourself is the biggest win that I made through this whole journey.
Oh, I'm just getting goosebumps here. It's basically success on your own terms. And this is how you can kill your light or kill your dreams and aspirations faster than you are even able to start to achieve anything. Thank you so much for sharing so honestly. I highly appreciate that, and I can absolutely resonate with it. So, Urs, thank you so much for being here today with me, for sharing your rapping skills as well. So,
the rapping CTO, how my people call me.
the rapping CEO. This is how gonna share this at the beginning. That's a great idea. So, thank you so much, and I hope to talk to you soon, face to face.
Yes, my pleasure exchanging with you, and take care.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was insightful, informative, or inspiring. I would love to hear your number one takeaway. Come on over to winX.today and share it in the comments below. You can also provide any kind of question around remote work solutions, business and leadership growth, as well as holistic HR topics. I look forward to provide an aid to your queue. Stay tuned, winner, and don't forget, we can win X today.